Hey, it's a good song. That is straight off of my workout playlist. Welcome to Cheap Heat. I'm Peter Rosenberg, alongside the masked man, David Shoemaker.
And and I'm alongside somebody named Chris Jericho.
Y2J.
This is the best guest we've
I
ever
am
had.
in the best. Of course, it's the best guest you've ever had.
Come on.
The same, but I'm in the best mood ever because Peter Rosenberg just showed me how to delete individual songs from my phone, so I can finally shore up some space. Because I was saying I have no space on my phone. It's always shutting me down. I go to take a picture. Oh, there's me and Paul McCartney. No space on your phone.
Oh my God.
So now I can go through here, and I've got like 4 versions of All Fired Up by Pat Benatar. Why? Why do I have 4 Pat Benatar All Fired Up? Great song, but not 4 times, and I'm now deleting them. I'm going to put the phone down, but I'm in the best mood ever because you have now given me new life for my phone data space. Thank you, sir.
No problem. My job is to give. Do you ever have the situation, the awkward, you're being really nice and taking a photo, and then they have the phone problems when taking the photo?
Oh yeah, always. This one thing from doing this for as long as I have, I know people's phones better than they do. So whenever someone wants to take a picture, can we take a selfie? I'm the selfie master.
So you take it for them?
Oh, I take it for them because I have a better. First of all, I'm not going to, but just in case one slips out, or if I say a swear word, is that okay?
You're fine.
Okay, so I'm the selfie king, to where people never know what to do, and they always take a low. You got to take. Here's the thing: you pull your arm to full extension and you hold it up because you always look way cooler and sexier when the phone is pointing down on you.
He's 100%
when you have it looking up, you always look like a fat
chin.
bastard.
Yeah.
Double chin.
Even you
never
look
looks
fat.
good. Right, and that's I can't have that going out there. There's enough fat Jericho pictures online as it is.
There are?
If you Google fat Jericho, you'll see. We talked about this morning on another radio show, a rival show.
Whose rival show is it?
It was Opie and Jimmy. So
okay,
am I allowed to say that?
They're a family of not Sam Roberts.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Not Sam. But if you Google Fat Jericho, I talk about it in my new book, The Best in the World at What I Have No Idea, available in fine bookstores near you.
Wonderful.
Say how I did that. Thank you. You can see pictures of Fat Jericho, and you never would realize that. You've always been in good shape. Google Fat Jericho, and you'll find differently.
Guys, hold on one sec. I'm gonna have to take this call. You understand what? Hold on. Hello.
Hi, Peter.
Yes.
I got Brian Epstein and Courtney Castle for you.
All right, put them through, please.
Oh, man.
It's my ICM agents. Hold on one second, guys. Chris, hold on. I think you'll appreciate this. Just you know when agents call, they have to have a receptionist call
I know.
first.
Brian on Peter.
Thank you, guys.
Hi.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hey, Dipperstein.
Sorry.
Dipperstein,
Yes.
Katzel, how are you?
Hello, Mr. R.
Listen, I need to call you guys back, but Dipperstein, I wanted to put you through because right now you're live with myself, the Masked Man, and Chris Jericho. And I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to say to Chris Jericho.
Oh my God. I bought in 1999. I bought a glittery, multicolored windbreaker in your honor.
Nice. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's always nice to hear.
Okay.
You are an amazing gentleman, guys. I'll be as soon as I'm done with this interview. I'll call you back and we'll get to big business.
That guy is really powerful in Hollywood. Just so you know.
Love you guys. Bye. Yeah, it's very
Wrestling fans grow up.
Actually,
it was kind of pretentious. I got my agent on the phone. I have to call in. Got my agent on the phone. If
Chris,
I had an agent, I'd have them call in right now,
Chris,
just to trump you, Rosenberg.
I don't like pointing out. I don't like breaking kayfabe during the show, but I'm currently a heel, so I do things like that.
Okay, well, I've got 3 versions of Another Brick in the Wall on my phone.
You instantly went right back to deleting. It was just a quick.
This is much more important to me than you being a heel.
You really got to show some respect.
I had to put myself over.
Come on, man.
Okay. So we're gonna do the show today. We decided that instead of our normal interview where we totally end up not talking about anything current, we want to do a mix of talk about Chris's awesome new book. I want to talk a lot about your time. Whenever I've talked to you, we've talked a lot of WWE, but I've been obsessing over Nitro on the network recently, so I want to do some of that.
Can I just say one thing? You're wearing a pink shirt with balloons on it.
Heel, like I said.
I just had to point that out. I love it.
Are there balloons?
No, those are.
Are they
Palm
balls?
trees. They're palm trees.
Are they
Chris.
balls? Oh, they look like cherries.
Yeah,
They're palm
they
trees?
do look like
They're
upside
palm
down
trees.
cherries.
Oh my gosh.
It's much better than you said. It's a pink shirt with
Sorry.
palm trees.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I just was looking at that going,
So
wow,
we're gonna cover.
That's a weird shirt.
We'll cover what's going on today. We'll cover everything.
Yeah, we'll get it all in.
Well, I want to get everything in. Chris, how long are you around? Are you done already? Did you already disappear
From what?
from TV?
Oh no!
Were you on this week?
Oh, no. If pay attention. I've been on for like 3 weeks, which much to the chagrin of every fan that I've been meeting is like, when are you coming back to the WWE? It's like, dude, I've been gone for like 3 days.
Yeah,
It hasn't been that
You
long.
don't get to ask the comeback
I
question.
was
the
just
champion has
there.
been on less than you have.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, right, exactly. I had more matches combined over the last 3 years than Rock and Brock Lesnar, who were on and became the world champion. So I'm not as good as them because I had 3 times the matches as they did combined. I couldn't win the world title.
And it's
See
been
what
tough.
happens?
It's been tough. So yeah, I'm sure you get that question every day. At this point, you don't have a plan, a timetable plan.
I never have a plan, man. I mean, I never really do. All I know is because people always like to want you to rationalize things and to, well, let us know. What do you have in mind for this, that, and other thing? I never have ever worked that way. All I know is that I have a plan for like what's going on over the next month or so, and then for example, the new Fozzy record came out, so we go on the tour cycle for that. In the meantime, I'm building Talk is Jericho, my podcast, which has been going through the roof, so I'm building that. I came back to the WWE in the summertime because we didn't have any touring with Fozzy, and that's when I'm able to come back if I have some time off, if they want me to come back. I mean, I had some time off earlier this year. We couldn't work anything else, so I didn't come back for WrestleMania 30.
Now, when you say that, does that mean they didn't have anything good for you?
Yeah, exactly.
So you're like, hey, what could I do? And like, you could show up, but you wouldn't have a WrestleMania match?
Well, no, it wouldn't be that, but it's kind of like, we'll come back and we'll tell you what you're doing. We'll tell me what I'm doing and I'll come back. We'll come back and we'll tell you what we're doing. We'll tell me what I'm doing and I'll come back.
I've seen that story play out before.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not a bad thing, because I'm not saying this in a bad way, but I don't want another like a Fandango situation, which I enjoyed when I was doing it, but in retrospect, it wasn't really, and it's hard to say this with lack of ego, but whatever, of a Chris Jericho worthy thing. It's something that means something that's going to make money. I've made money for the company for years.
Yeah.
I plan to continue to do that. If it's just a sidetrack kind of ancillary thing, I'm not really interested in that. So that's why I didn't come back early in the year. And then when I had the summer off, we talked about it. What do you want to do? How about Bray Wyatt? We'll talk to Vince and see what he wants to do. And 28 days later, he called me, and the next day I was on Raw.
Yeah, one of the cool things that comes up in the book is that the same like kind of immediate thought process. We were like, I have 3 months with nothing to do. Let me just call Triple H, or let me call Vince before that.
Mm-hmm.
But people on the internet pay a lot of attention to Fozzy tour dates, to like various
They do.
like, book release dates.
Sure.
Like, it's like there's an entire kind of like conspiracy theorist subculture of people tracking you to see when they think you're going to make surprise returns because you're so known for that now.
There always is, especially like, when you do tours, rock tours, you don't usually do shows on Monday. They're just like notoriously not good drawing days for shows.
No one likes going to shows.
Yeah, no one wants to go to a show on Monday. So always, the new Fozzy tour is coming up, but Mondays are off, so you never know. And anybody that knows me by now knows, and nothing against anybody, Brock or Rock or whatever. When I come back, I don't come back just for TVs or pay-per-views. I come back for everything because that's what I like to do. I do as many shows as I can, as many of the live events, international tours, because that to me is if I'm coming back to maximize the experience for myself selfishly, I like house shows. They're fun. Sorry, live events.
You get to wrestle.
Well, yeah,
you get to have Matt. I've seen. Yeah. There are a lot of people who I've enjoyed more at house shows than anywhere else.
Yeah, it's just fun to be on the road, with the guys, and it's part of the experience for me.
It's not just popping in, show them out backstage.
And also too, if you're gonna, and it's funny too. Like when I came back last year, it was like, Jericho came back to put over the young guys. He's so noble. It's like, fuck that. I didn't come back to put over anybody. If I had my way, I'd win every match. But I do.
I don't believe you.
Absolutely.
You really.
Oh, in a second. Of course I would. If I had my way, I would win every match.
Because we all, I think, collectively think that too. That it's like Jericho loves putting over young guys.
No, I love winning matches.
Why? Okay, explain this to the total outsider. Why do wrestlers, now that pro wrestling and sports entertainment is acknowledged to be entertainment with predetermined results, why is it that a pro wrestler still loves to win?
Well, it's because and I say that like with a grain of salt as a laugh, but I mean the bottom line is winning and losing really doesn't matter. I'm a big component of that, but you still, if you had the choice, you always want to win because everyone likes to win. It's just fun, If I was acting in a Steven Spielberg movie and there was 15 guys in the movie and all of them died one after another, I'd like to be the one that lives all the way through the movie because it gives me more airtime and I get the glory and I'm the hero. Having said that, if I'm in a Steven Spielberg movie and I'm the first guy to go in that 15 because my balls get shot off and stuffed down my throat in the first 5 seconds,
God, what a movie.
and I say, hey, listen, my character would never do that, then Steve goes, fine, get the hell out of here and we'll get someone else in here who wants to do that. And that's why, I have no problem doing what my boss asked me to do, and I might have different ideas or different ways to do it. And, I'll still do what I'm told because I'm an employee of the company. And I have, like I said, some leeway to kind of do things either way. And I don't have a problem losing. And sometimes I like it. But if you're asking me if you're giving me this credit and this medal of honor that I came back specifically to put over young guys, totally not the truth. Totally not the truth.
That's super interesting.
Well, yeah, because that you can't lose all the time. You can't win all the time. It's boring either way. But, this time when I came back, I had a great time. The first pay-per-view, it's funny though, like fans are so crazy. I go away for a while and they're always like, when are you coming back? Jericho should come back. He's turning his back on the fans and blah, blah, blah. And we hate Fozzy and we hate podcasts and we hate,
everything else
everything else I do, they hate. Just go back to wrestling because you suck at everything else because you're only a wrestler, only a wrestler, only a wrestler. Okay, I come back to wrestle. Oh, Jericho came back, but he's only back for TVs and pay-per-views. He's just taking easy money. Okay, I do house shows. All right, he's only coming back to do house shows and pay-per-views, but he's just here to lose to all the guys and be a jobber. I beat Bray Wyatt at the first pay-per-view I come back. Jericho's coming back to bury guys, and he's not putting any of the younger guys over. I lose at SummerSlam. Jericho's just a jobber. It's like, fuck, what do you want?
Well, doesn't that make you hate?
No, that's just the internet. And
that's what I'm saying.
He did the internet in 30 seconds.
You just covered.
We can just stop now.
Well, the thing about the internet is, if you're going to go on it, you got to take the good with the bad. I like going on it and having people tell me that I'm the greatest thing ever. And
you're right.
When you go on it and people say you're the worst piece of shit, go home, retire, you old bastard, you don't like that either. You gotta, if you're gonna go in those waters and tread in that waters, you got to take the good with the bad. And I never had a problem with that. Everyone has an opinion. The only opinion that matters to me is the one that I feel inside myself, and that's how I dictate what I do.
Are there days when you do get bummed out when you come out of the ring? A couple hours later, you end up scrolling on your phone, and for whatever, there's some negative comment you're reading over and over and over again. Do those things add up?
No, because I don't go on the phone for gratification or for people to tell me if it's good or bad. I know from the moment the match is done. I know, yeah, and I know from the moment the Fozzy show is done, or the moment I finish an interview for Talk is Jericho, or anything that I do, I know instantly if it's good or bad, or if I think it's up to snuff, or if I think I could have done better, or if I wish I could have changed this or changed that, or that's the only opinion that matters to me. Second, if you're talking about wrestling, is what does the boss think?
Yeah.
And if the boss is good with it too, then I really don't care too much after that, And nor should you, because if you let it obsess you, it'll eat you up, man. You can't please everyone all the time, and fans are fans. And the one thing I love about fans is they'll, whether they hate it or whether they like it, they're still going to come back and continue to watch it and continue to support you. That's the thing about having loyal fans.
It took me a long time to realize that I do get affected by if there's a huge, like if one thing happens, and it seems like I've had this happen many times in my career, I do one accidental real life like heel move and get really beat up for it for like days. I had to admit and realize that those things after a few days affect me. And I was like, you know what? And my wife last time, she was like, you need to be mindful about the things you're saying because you bring it home and it affects you. And when you go on the air and you say something crazy and you think it's fun and then you pay the price for it, that's fine if you can deal with it. But if there are times when you can't deal with it, you better understand that.
That's a little different from what I'm saying. Like you're saying that you might say something that, like, I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about. Maybe you offended somebody with a comment that you made, or maybe you pissed a segment of society off. I'm not talking that. I'm talking about personal.
Critique and
I'm talking personal performance. Like if you went out there and said, I hate all people that love dolphins and they're all stupid and they should all die.
It's true.
And those people that like dolphins hate you, but you delivered it properly and you think this is the way I feel and I convicted in this. Or sometimes you might say something over the line about that lady was fat or that whatever, and then you realize I shouldn't have said that. That was kind of an insult. Then you know what I mean. I'm talking about
it is slightly different, right?
Yeah, personal performance. How do I feel about the job that I did?
Right. I just think I also never know how I do at anything. I assume everything's equally good, and that's not true.
Or equally bad. That's where I come from.
Well, yes, you do.
Yeah, that's true. Well, one of the cool things running throughout the book is sort of your relationship with Vince. I mean, it's I don't know, sweet is definitely not the right word, but you guys have known each other for a long time, and there's a lot of that kind of the way you interact in gorilla position, or the conversations you have after a match? Like, what is it? Tell for people who are listening. Tell what's the conversation you have with Vince after a match? Like, does he critique you right after something happens?
Well, it's different. Like, a lot of people will go directly from their match through Gorilla and go stand by him to ask what they think, or they'll wait around hoping that he looks over. I never do that. I just walk through. Once again, I know if it was good or bad. I might ask him a question about, like, how did you feel about this, or what did you think about that? Because, I mean, like I said, A, he's my boss. B, I respect his opinions because he is a legitimate genius when it comes to pro wrestling. And I have to impress and satisfy him first and foremost, because I am an employee of him, of him, if that's proper grammar. He pays me, so I want to make sure that he's happy with my performance. Now, if I know something sucked, I don't wait around to hear it. I know it sucked. I don't want to hear his opinion. I'll leave. Yeah. If he calls me back up to tell me, then we'll discuss it. But the only time I talk to Vince is if something was really, really good, where you come through and it's just like, fuck yeah. Or sometimes he'll call you over if he has an opinion, or he'll give you a standing ovation, or shake your hand, or whatever it may be. So, but a lot of younger guys, as they should, wait to go talk to Vince after every match. I don't do that as much because, like I said, I internalize a lot of how I feel of what something was like. Now, I might ask somebody, what did Vince think? Or how was it? Maybe the agent or the writer on the promo.
Sure.
But to go to him directly, I kind of save that for special occasions. I go talk to him more before the match, during the day, about what we're going to do for the story or the finish or a spot or whatever it may be. Not so much after. I try and get what he wants before. And a lot of times producers, agents will tell you something and I don't quite get it. And I'm sure they all hate me because I don't even question it. I just go straight to Vince. Every time. But that's because Vince tells me, come to me. And every time I don't come to him, he's like, why didn't you come to me? I thought you were busy. That's bullshit. I'm never too busy for you. Come see me. If you have a question or something that you need to know, come see me. So I do.
It's sort of interesting, though, because, I mean, your entire career with WWE, not to say you've been above critique, but you're the rare guy who, from the moment you got there, you were already a big deal walking in, and then you've continued to be that your entire time there.
But I got a lot of hassle. If you've read my second book, especially, you'll see once I got to the WWE as a big deal, they cut me down to size pretty quickly. And I had Triple H on my podcast on Talk is Jericho, which was awesome. I've known the guy for 15 years. I've never talked to him for 90 minutes ever. When do you ever talk to someone at work for that long? That's why I love podcasts. And we were talking, and we did not like each other in the early 2000s. And
you worked together a lot.
All the time, and had great matches. Tore the freaking house down on countless occasions.
Some of the best,
Headlined a WrestleMania together. But, in retrospect, 10 years later, we're like, I'm not sure why. We didn't like each other, but I'm not really too sure why. You just were kind of pitted against each other, and there was a real war between WCW and WWE. It wasn't just something that they made up for the network special. It was real, and I came in by myself, and I was an enemy. H said, who does this guy think he is? Did he get fired? Or, we didn't know why you were coming in. And meanwhile, I was coming in for the right reasons to be in the WWE and kill it in the WWE. But I came in as an enemy, and it took years to shrug that off. And then when I finally came into my own, which didn't happen until 2008, when I turned heel with the suit wearing hypocrite Jericho, that's when I became an invaluable, in my opinion, Hall of Fame championship legend, or whatever you want to say. I don't feel I was that up until then. That was 18 years into my career before I really became what my potential and what I always thought that I could be. And I think Vince felt the same. I did some good stuff, but wasn't the same as that 2008 character. That was kind of
that's an astounding thing to think about.
That's for me,
when you think about people working hard and how long it takes to get somewhere, to think that in your eyes you wouldn't have made it to the pinnacle of your performance until 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It really
started in 1990.
It'd been all over the world. Had been famous at that point for years and years and years.
3-time world champion in the WWE. But I still didn't feel like I've never to this day ever won the world title as a babyface. Never. All 6 times were as a heel. And the first 3 times, it was in that time where it was like the undisputed champion. And, I call myself in this book, there's a chapter called The George Harrison of the WWE. And that's me. And why I say that is I came into the WWE as a huge babyface, very popular.
Yeah.
All of the merch at the time, all the face of the company was Jericho with 2 other guys, The Rock and Steve Austin. So I am a huge popular babyface, much like George Harrison is one of the greatest songwriters, guitar players, singers, one of the most famous musicians ever. His only problem is he was in a band with the two biggest, most famous songwriters musicians ever, Paul McCartney and John Lennon. I was in the WWE with the two biggest baby faces ever at the same time, Rock and Steve Austin, and I'm number 3. So I've always kind of been in that, close to the top area, and we're not sure if we really want to give him the big shove. In 2008, when I kind of recreated this character and also had the best possible foil in Shawn Michaels, that's when I became a legitimate main event,
Shawn
main
Michaels,
event player.
hypocrite.
Yeah,
Total disgusting hypocrite.
But what an angle, right? Because it's true.
I loved the hypocrite. Well, you just reminded me of it. I haven't thought about it in a long time. I loved it.
I had to go back because when I got the opportunity to write a third book, I was like, do I have enough stuff to write about? Each book has less and less of a time frame because the first one went from 1990 to 99. Second one is 99 to 2007. Third one, 2007 to 2012, 13. Yeah. But I knew at the very least I had the Shawn Michaels feud, and I could build a book around that. If I had nothing else, I could still get by with that. And then, of course, as I started writing, I had so much stuff to talk about and so many great stories in wrestling, in Fozzy, in Dance with the Stars, hosting the Golden Gods, going to Iraq, all the stuff that I had done.
Have I even gotten to see you to tell you that what you must owe me as a man because I watched Dancing with the Stars every week because of you?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I sat through that damn show waiting for Jericho. Just mark that I am so I could cheer for Jericho. And you did quite well.
Thanks, man. Well, this is the best thing of all. I met Geezer Butler for the first time when I was hosting the Golden Gods. And I was like, hey, Geezer, I'm Chris Jericho, famous Black Sabbath bass player, one of the heaviest men of all time. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's Chris Jericho. I've been watching you on Dancing with the Stars. I even voted for you, too. And I was like, anybody that says that I'm not cool or not heavy by doing that show can suck it because Geezer Butler watched me and voted for me.
Boom.
Thank you very much.
Really
Biggity bam, yo, snickety snick.
Yeah, man. Well, going back to the Shawn feud, which is, just so epic. It was 7 months long, right?
Yes.
Which is, another kind of obvious commentary on people commenting on the internet is they always want things to happen now. That's everybody's recollection of, the Attitude Era, whatever. Everyone wants Daniel Bryan to win the title right now instead of at WrestleMania when it's so much more of a payoff. Mm-hmm. But we remember your feud with Shawn Michaels because it was so long. That's what makes a great story. So I don't know. Do you think about that when you're plotting out a long-term storyline with somebody that's going to be an epic?
But the thing about that, Dave, and the reason why it's such a classic feud, and not just for me, but in the company's history, is that it was organic. It was not supposed to be.
Right.
I actually went back and had to Google that feud to find out all the little ins and outs and ups and downs, and actually, I actually credited the guy who wrote the kind of the timeline of it from whatever website it was, Bleacher Report or something. But it was supposed to be a one-night thing. It was me. It was Batista versus Shawn, and I was the guest referee, and I was going to turn on Shawn to turn heel, and we were going to have one match the next month pay-per-view, and that was it. Problem was, there was no real finish for the Batista-Shawn match. Vince's quote was, "I just booked the shit. You guys deal with it and make it good." So we couldn't figure out what to do. And Shawn and I both knew, listen, this sucks. We had this great match at WrestleMania 19, stole the show. We could do something here. And we just started to organically put this together. The finish for that match that Shawn came up with was that he hurt his knee, but did he really hurt his knee? No one was sure. And then I, as the referee, was kind of cautious about it and started saying, are you sure that you hurt? Yes, I hurt my knee. And then he ends up super kicking me in the face and dancing like a Chippendales dancer, I didn't hurt my knee. And as a heel, the best way to be a heel is by having a kernel of truth by whatever you're announcing, and whatever you're bitching about. And I came to the ring the next day and said, I was talking about Shawn Michaels and people are cheering him and chanting HBK, and I'm like, this is for real in my head, how can these people cheer for him when he was lying the whole time to a guy that legitimately was concerned about him, and then he kicks me in the face, and then they love it. If you were hurt, Peter, and I was taking care of you the whole month or whatever, and then you kicked me in the face and went ha ha ha, and I'm the asshole. And that's when the hypocrite thing started, because it was really hypocritical, but because he's so legendary and it's a very Shawn Michaels thing to do, then I had it. It's dude, I got it. And when I called people hypocrites, people don't like being told the truth. And that's when the whole thing started with the No Country for Old Men, then the Nick Bockwinkel influence. They just released an AWA retrospective where he wore suits and talked in big words over people's heads. People don't like being talked down to, you know what I mean? So that's when I had it rolling. And then we started piecing together this feud that we never knew how long it was going to last. It's up to Vince. Every week we'd get together with Michael Hayes and Brian Gewirtz, who, Brian Gewirtz, you've heard his name before, but as far as the great stuff that happened in the 2000s, he was behind that just as much as Vince. As much of a genius as Vince in a lot of ways. Very, very smart guy, and doesn't get half the credit because he never really talks.
Yeah. I think he likes to keep it that way, too.
He does, yeah. He's a very quiet guy, but people would say, Brian Gewirtz, this, that, and Brian Gewirtz is one of the cornerstones of anything good that you saw in the 2000s. Rock, Jericho, Michaels, whatever it may be. So we just kept rolling with this thing, and it really was catching steam, and people were really getting into it because I was such an asshole, and he was such a good baby face. It was the perfect mix, and plus we cared. We had creative minds. We had imagination. We had experience. We had reputation. We had the ear of the boss who knew that we had ideas that he could trust. So it's one of those things, I don't know if it'll ever happen again because it was just this perfect mix.
Yeah.
Then, not to interrupt you, when I punched his wife in the face for real, that's what took it from another feud to a legendary story that people thought was real. Because I don't care who you are, if you punch my wife in the face or my dad or my son or my daughter, my Aunt Griselda or anybody in between, I'm going to kick your ass. And people knew, okay, wrestling is a show, but that was real because, hey, dude, she zigged when she should have zagged. I zagged when I should have zigged. And that's the sound it made for real.
So that was that's
absolutely. It felt like if you take a grape and hold it in your fist and punch it, that's what her lip felt like a splitting grape.
And what goes through your mind at that point?
The worst horrible feeling that you can ever have, because she's a civilian, and she's trusting me, and instead of hitting her the way that I've been trained, like I said, we got too close and she took it because I was going to stop right before, as we do. You throw a punch, you pull it. By the time I pulled it, she was already there. And just the worst feeling. But the only person that felt worse was Shawn. Like, he was just so despondent and just couldn't believe it. And this wrestling shit, I put my family in this danger. And I thought for sure he was going to attack me backstage, but he didn't even have that in. He was just so sad. And I
what
remember
was she like?
She was sitting there getting treated, and I didn't know if I knocked her out her teeth, or what. I didn't know. And she just had a fat lip, and she sat up and she said, "Is that all you got, Jericho?" Kind of like, haha. And I was like, "Oh, thank God." And we still felt really bad, and I sent her flowers and called every day. And about a week or half, 2 weeks later, when she was perfectly fine, we realized this is probably the best thing that ever could have happened, because it took it to a different place. It took it to a place that was real for us, but for the fans as well, for the reasons I discussed earlier. And that's when that feud became classic and legendary.
Yeah, we might need to work your wife into an angle on this show.
Not if it involves Jericho.
I don't hit as hard as him. That's really cool. Do you want to talk about any? We've had some current event stuff. I mean, some stuff that's happened this week that I think it'd be good.
Well, yeah, and one leads to an awesome plug for our guest, Chris Jericho, on his podcast on Friday on Podcast One. Talk is Jericho. We'll have Justin Roberts on, fresh off. That's what I read, at least.
Yes,
fresh off of apparently not being re-signed by the WWE. Not necessarily the guy you think about every single day when you're watching professional wrestling, but he's become a staple over the last several years. And what I really enjoy about his work is that he's very classic to me in his style of ring announcing.
Yeah, and one of the coolest things about him is that one of the great things about the internet era is that we all know that he's like a huge mark, to use the term. He's into.
I would go even beyond mark. I mean, a mark is kind of like someone. Oh yeah, wrestling. But this guy was a legitimate, lifelong super fan.
Yeah.
Like he's got video of him getting Vince McMahon's autograph in 1995, or name a wrestler. He's got a picture with him at a hotel that he waited at as a teenager.
Yeah.
I
didn't know it was like that. That's crazy.
And I didn't really either. As a matter of fact, he was. I found this out just recently. He was actually at my debut as Y2J in Chicago, August 9th, 1999. Like, he was one of those guys.
That's
he
crazy.
was there at these places. So, yeah, man, kind of a real drag. And
do you expect to get the story from him for Friday? Do you think he'll tell you much of what happened?
Well, it's kind of a...
essentially, what can you give us, Jericho? Give us a little. So, I mean, is there anything we can get here?
If anything, you're going to get an insight to the guy. It was actually me, him, and Miz. You'll get some insight to the guy as a fan and realize, just like you said, you don't really know the name Justin Roberts, but you know what he does. You'll get a lot of a human side from him. You really like him as a result.
Do you talk about him getting choked by the tie?
Yeah, absolutely.
That was one of my
and that was probably his
best.
most famous moment right now in the NXT Original Invasion when Daniel Bryan choked him out with his own tie, and Daniel ended up getting fired.
Did you read the hubbub on the internet about him and Michael Cole supposedly going at each other, and the fans?
It's one of those things that I don't even know whether or not to believe it, but yeah, apparently people there on Monday night saw them fighting.
When I hear stories about Michael Cole bickering back and forth with someone, guess what? I believe it. But that's the first piece of dirt that we heard about this week.
Yeah.
What else? Is there any other major dirt?
Not unless he wants to comment on Wiz Khalifa and John Cena rapping together.
Major. John Cena back to rapping.
I don't like, dude. I'd be the last guy. What a hypocrite I would be if I went John Cena rapping, haha, because I hear it all the time.
That's
with
why
Fozzy.
you should do it.
Like, oh, Chris Jericho's a wrestler and he's a singer. Wow, how good can this be? And then listen to it and it blows their fucking head off. John is actually, he's a good rapper. He's got a good style. He's actually kind of got a ludicrous drawl to him. And he didn't just start doing this. It's something that he's done. I'm not sure exactly where he grew up in Boston, but he's something that he's done. So, hey, if I was in the rap game and Wiz Khalifa did a duet with me, I'd be pretty cool with it. So I'm sure it'll be good. John doesn't do anything that's bad. He's putting 1,000% into it.
It is random, though. I did not expect to see a return to rapping for John. I mean, last time I talked to him about music, he's moved like fully into country. He wasn't really.
Yeah, that's one thing I hate. Like when we do tours on the bus overseas, he kind of gets to commandeer the stereo. At least at some points, it's always just fucking Merle Haggard and
old country.
Outlaw country. And it's not my thing at all. I'm like, dude, like if I'm gonna drink some like whiskey or vodka, I need some tunes, man. I need some action. And he's all into this country thing, and country. I'm like, I can't stand. I'm gonna go to the back and just listen to AC/DC and drink by myself. But that's what I mean. Like John doesn't half-ass anything. You can see that from his work ethic. So I haven't heard the tune. I'm assuming it's probably not too bad, especially if a guy like Wiz is involved.
He said John has very John Cena-esque lines on it.
Yeah, I listened to it right before we started. There were two tracks.
Two of them, yeah, both with Wiz, and he has some lines that they're very John Cena-like. Listen, he's not reinventing the rhyme as we know it. But
reinventing the rhyme. But there's a song title for
exactly.
you.
But he does his job on it. I think it has gotten people talking that like, oh, now we know the heel turn's coming because he's going back to rapping.
I think everything John Cena goes to like the Burger King, and someone's like, oh, now we know the heel.
Total
turn's
heel
coming.
move, Burger King.
I don't think the John Cena heel move is going to happen at any time soon, if ever, because there's.
You really would say if ever? You think there's a possibility it'll never happen?
Dude, it's a different world now, man. It's a corporate WWE where it's not the same as it used to be. They're going for a much more highbrow form of entertainment, highbrow sponsorship, and the bottom line is that Make-A-Wish thing. He is the biggest Make-A-Wish guy of all time, not in wrestling, of all time, more than Michael Jordan or Kanye West or whoever the biggest star in the world is.
I think you chose two who are not in the top five.
I'm the worst sports guy, so I was thinking Wayne Gretzky, but that's like 20 years outdated anyways as well. So what's his name? King LeBron. He's more than LeBron James. Is that a good one?
Yeah, that's current.
So, I just think, I don't know if turning him heel, plus he still sells more merch than anybody. And don't let anybody fool you. When Punk was there, or Mysterio, whatever, Cena still did a lot more merch. So he draws in a certain demographic. And to turn heel, it's almost like, I don't know. I don't think Vince ever would have turned Hulk Hogan heel had he stayed in the WWE.
Transition, Chris Jericho. To the can we transition for a second?
We can.
I
was gonna say that I thought turning to country music was kind of like turning heel, but I guess
he turned heel to me at that point.
The West
exactly,
the West Texas
Jericho.
rednecks proved that was not the case. So.
That was hilarious.
So that time what was your debut in WCW?
August of '96, September of '96.
August
'96.
August '96. So wait. You debuted just as NWO was starting?
Yeah, about 2 months after. I think they started in June of '96, and I came in August.
When you debuted, and I just saw this, but I don't remember, were they still outside? Or had it moved inside already?
The NWO?
No, the WCW shows, because Nitro was outside for like 6 weeks straight in the middle of that
No,
summer.
this was inside.
So you debuted when they were back, when they were in arenas.
Yeah, and in Palmetto, Florida, at the Manatee Civic Center against Alex Wright. It was a countout that I refused to take the victory because I was such a squeaky clean baby face. And I remember Bobby Heenan going, "Take the victory, you idiot! You take him when you can get him." I'm like, I know. I'm not the booker. They still thought that this long-haired, good-looking guy would be the, oh, shucks, I just love the fans and give 100%. And I remember they told me to do a promo, and they said, talk about how you wouldn't accept the victory because Alex Wright couldn't defend himself, and talk about the NWO. And I said something along the lines, I just watched it the other day. Actually, I had it on my podcast where I was like, and it was Mean Gene, who's still the best interviewer. Chris Jericho, you wouldn't take the victory over Alex Wright, and it's your first debut. And I was like, Mean Gene, Alex Wright couldn't defend himself, and I'm not going to take a victory like that. I'm coming in to give 100% and be the best person I can be. Unlike those guys in the NWO, Hulk Hogan, they would just take victories whenever they could. And Gene's like, all right, we'll be right back. And Alex was supposed to say something, and of course I took all the time, and he didn't get a chance to say anything. But even then, all we were supposed to do was talk about the NWO.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that was driven home from the beginning. And did you have any mixed feelings about that, about debuting when they were clearly in the middle of doing something that was such like a massive
deal?
deal?
I'd been working in frickin' armories in Middletown, Pennsylvania, in front of 200 people,
So
making $150. It's like, I was like, dude, the first day I walked into that Nitro, and I look in the room, and there's Macho Man and Flair and Hogan and Luger and Sting. I remember I just had to, I looked, and if I would have had one of those Twilight Zone clocks where you could freeze time, I froze time, and I was like, this is absolutely insane. Oh my God. Okay, stop. You're now professional. These guys are your peers. Boom. Hey guys, how you doing? I think you're in the wrong dressing room. Yeah, I think so too. Bye. And walked out and went to the other side. But I mean, I was just,
they had their own air. They were
everybody had their own dressing rooms. That's the thing. I never saw any of those guys because they were all you would come to we'd be at the Superdome in Louisiana, and you'd be walking, and there's Eric's room, Piper's room, Savage's room, Hogan's room, the NWO room, Sting's room, Luger's room, and there'd be one other little half closet where there's 150 dudes changing next to each other. How you doing? Good. What's going on? How you doing?
The cruiserweights. All
No. Everybody. Yeah, not just cruiserweights. Everybody. I mean, me and John Nord sitting on each other's lap because we have nowhere else to change. Wow. That's just kind of how it was there.
Of the veterans, who were there any that you remember in those early days being particularly friendly?
Jimmy Hart was the best. Taught me a lot of stuff that I still remember to this day. Always wear as many colors as you can. Everyone wears black. This is show business. Wear color. And you can't make people make signs. Someone's getting over by the signs they have in the crowd. And you can tell the ones that are past. I'm talking to people in the the 15th row that have Jericho signs. So look at the signs in the crowd. You can tell people are starting to get into you. And Arn Anderson was pretty cool. Terry Taylor. Other than that, not really.
Over time, did you ever have any relationship with Macho Man?
That's the one guy I never really knew. Those guys, you have to understand, it's so weird, but none of them would ever really talk to any of us. It was kind of like high school. We had the high schools, and we were the freshmen. So, and not that they weren't cool, there just wasn't a lot of, it was very awkward to talk to any of them, and didn't really know what to talk about. Actually, Hogan was pretty nice, but he kind of separated us. But actually, I like Hogan. I like Hulk a lot to this day. He's always been really cool. But they just didn't talk a lot to us. And Savage never, I was only there for a couple years, and then I left, and I never really saw him. So
does that affect the way you interact with the young guys now? I mean, do you go out of your way to
I don't go out of my way to do anything, but it's just different. Everyone changes together. I wouldn't even want to have my own dressing room. You know, I even called Rock out when he came back. I'm like, why do you have your own dressing room? You should change with the guys. Dude, you're just one of the boys. Don't think that you're not. And that's not cool. You should be with everybody. And
how do you respond to that?
I didn't really say much. That's just kind of how he is, and that's fine. But for me, it's I like that camaraderie. And I kind of fall into it sometimes. I'm like, geez, am I telling another story? Like fucking old man Jericho telling another story about the old days. But I'm one of the few guys that has stories about everybody. I started in 1990. Name someone that was a big name in the last 25 years. I worked with them, hung out with them, rode with them. Something. And these guys don't have that. Some of them are up there for a year or 2 years in the business total. And So I like hanging out with the guys, and I don't ever think of it like veteran or rookie or greenhorn or whatever it is. I just like the guys that
you don't have
that I
any.
like.
There's no difference in the way you think about someone who you know didn't dream of it their whole life and didn't work their way up in the same way.
Well, everybody has to start somewhere, and nobody can really do it the same way I did. Those opportunities aren't there anymore. So I give everyone a fair shake. Do I think they respect the business? Do they understand how big of a deal it is to be in the WWE? If I feel that they have that attitude, then I don't give a shit how you came in. It doesn't matter to me at all.
Yeah.
I went and saw Queen this year with Adam Lambert, singing, and he came into the business through American Idol. That's some bullshit. Hey, say what you want. The guy killed it, and he was unbelievable, and he sang like amazing. I don't care how he came in. I'm just glad that he's in, because he should be. And that's the way I feel about wrestling guys too. And most of the guys in the WWE are very respectful now. The locker room attitude has changed over the last 15 years. There's no jerks. They don't put up with it. And everybody's kind of at the same level experience-wise. I will say this. I knew Daniel Bryan would be a huge star because I knew his lineage. Same with Ambrose. Same with Rollins. Cesaro. The guys that came in from these other places, Barrett, Sheamus, you just have a little bit of a different way of thinking about things. And that's one of the reasons why I still am very valuable to the company, is that I have experience that a lot of guys don't have, and I have international experience. I think of things differently. I don't always think about, okay, I came in this one way, I trained this one way, this is all I know. I can take something from Negro Casas, or take something from Ultimo Dragon, or take something from Tenru, or from Rene Lazartes from Germany, or whatever. You just think of I remember this time I was working with Sabu and we did this thing and maybe it'll work. You just have a different way of putting together the matches that you do.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons why I'll always have a gig there, because you have a different mindset, different colors that you can paint with.
Do you have any resentment towards CM Punk for the way he left the company?
I don't, because like I said, I knew Punk very well. I haven't talked to him since then. I don't know. I guess he just kind of detached himself from everybody involved in wrestling. But I knew that it was coming, because he was really, he just didn't like a lot of stuff, and I just don't know. I guess I don't know if he's not a happy guy with what was going on or what. But I can empathize with him, because I went through the same thing in 2005. The only difference was my contract was ending, but they pulled me in the office to talk about resigning, and I know to this day that they were going to cut my pay. I know it. I just know it, because I was really stagnant. I wasn't there mentally. I wasn't liking what I was doing. I was kind of getting pissed off, and ideas that should be coming to me very natural weren't. So I just walked away. That's why I was gone for almost 2.5 years. People forget that. And I get where Punk was coming from. He just didn't want to wait until his contract was up, and he had to get away from this. And I didn't watch wrestling for 2 years. Not a drop. Not one hold, nothing. I still kept up with it, but I was so sick and burnt out on wrestling. So I get where Punk is coming from, why he left. The only difference was that my contract happened to be up at that time, where I paced myself to make it, and he couldn't do that, or didn't want to.
There was a rumor this week that I think Mr. Orton has dispelled, but there was briefly a rumor that he was signing a contract, like a minimum or a less full-time contract, more of a part-time contract, I should say, than he was on. But I immediately thought of you when I saw that, because I've been agitating for a while that more wrestlers should be working at least slightly reduced schedules to keep them fresh, and to keep them mentally fresh, which is what you're talking about. Do you think there's any way that the business could turn that way, or at least WWE?
Why? There'll always be guys that want to work.
You're right.
And there's always shows to do, and there's always TV contracts to fill. It's up to you as a performer to be as diverse as you can be. And that, if you look at from the day I started, heck, from the day I said I wanted to be a wrestler, I also wanted to be in a rock band. Remember, I'm 12 years old. This is what I want to do. And I'm focusing my life on doing these things. I didn't just wake up one day and go, I'm going to be in a band. I'm going to call it Fozzy. I'm going to sing. I've been doing this my whole life. And I knew that, you can't wrestle forever. But I can act, and I can sing, and I can be creative, and I have ideas, and I have a personality. So people sometimes get frustrated when I leave wrestling. But I'm not leaving because I don't like it, except for 2005. I'm leaving because there's other opportunities that I want to expand upon. Now, when you leave, you become more valuable when you come back.
Right.
You become more desirable. like you said, you're much more fresh. I learned this from Hogan. Hogan's been doing it for years. Before, when he was actually still wrestling, he would come and go. He would come. He would always come back the week after Monday Night Football ended. Why? Because of course there's going to be a spike in ratings. Guess what? Hulk Hogan's back in the show. The ratings go up. He did that all the time. I'm not that calculated as far as, but I know that if I come and go, it keeps me fresher as a character, but more importantly, mentally, man. And physically too, but mentally more than anything. Because I don't want to ever get burned out again. And I also don't want ever have to worry about needing the WWE more than they need me. Because then you're in trouble. If you need them,
especially because they're the only show in town.
That's right. And if you get fired or you get let go, or you could, whatever, we're cutting your pay, or we're going to use you once a week. You never know. And not that they would do that with me, but I'm not going to give them that chance. I'd rather stack the deck. And I like doing a lot of things. I like being creative and being an artist. That's what I do. I've never said I'm a wrestler. I'm an entertainer. And that entails a lot of different things.
And a lot of people say that these days. In your case, it's particularly true.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I did Dance with the Stars. They asked me 3 times. I said, no. And Stacey Keebler said, you're crazy. You're going to love it. It's one of the best things you're ever going to do. And just to learn, the first time I danced, dude, it's hard. And you got to dance and try that for a day. It is freaking impossible.
How about not? I'm not going to try it.
To learn how to do that and to get it, and it's like, by week 2, I was like, man, my week 2 dance, had I done it in week 6, I would have got 3 10s. It was just too early in the process because it's all a process. It's a work.
Yeah.
It's show business. But just to learn all that and to get that experience, that's what I'm all about at this point in my career and in my life.
That's pretty great. Do you have any more Nitro questions before we just completely derail from that?
I have a million Nitro questions, but no, not right now.
Why? Okay, so
give a million.
When you were wrestling, and when you were doing the sort of the Nitro undercard, when everything was all NWO all the time, as we were talking about before. A lot of the guys you worked with ended up, coming to WWE or even staying in WCW and getting a lot of the fame that they deserved. Or is there anybody that from those days that you think never got the chance to shine the way that you did when you came to WWF, or the way that
within the
Ray
WWE system or within the WCW system?
WCW and those the kind of early.
So you had
show.
you had him, Malenko, Benoit, Guerrero, Mysterio, who all were catapulted to a large degree.
Like I left first too.
Yeah.
Remember that I was by myself, man. Like they came in afterwards, with Perry. But Big Show was the first guy, and then I was like the second one. And WCW, I don't know, man. I think everything pretty much shaked out the way that it would have. Is there anybody that you can think of?
I didn't know if there was. Because you wrestle all over the world, but there were a lot of those. There were a lot of the masked guys. Hoovie's actually came up a lot in conversation with some friends the other day.
I would say in '98, Hoovie was just as good as Ray. He was one of my favorite guys. I worked in WCW. As a matter of fact, if I had to pull my favorite match in WCW, it would probably be the mask match that we had in San Francisco.
Yeah.
He was a tremendous performer. I think he was more of his own worst enemy than ever really not getting a chance.
Right.
But if you look at all the guys, like, Booker T became a world champion, came to WWE, became a world champion. It seemed like everything kind of shook out the way that it should. I can't think of anybody that I thought, man, they should have got a better shot in WCW, because most of the guys that were getting shots, they were getting more than they should have got. Like, I don't want to start saying names. There's a lot of guys there that made a lot of money that were worthless.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know. When they want me to resign, finally, I got half of what 3 guys that I can think of right now that were all about 6'7" and probably had maybe one match ever that was any good, and the rest just sucked.
Yeah.
But they were getting pushes because they were big or whatever it was. So I think WCW pretty much went the way that it was going to go once they never gave guys like myself, like Chris, like Eddie, like Mysterio, that became world champions in WWE. That wasn't done to screw with WCW. It was done because we were good enough to be that, and we should have been that.
Well, and when you came over, like you said, Big Show came first. It was a huge moment. One of my favorite moments as a wrestling fan is when you made your first appearance in WWF. But what it really signaled more than, Big Show obviously didn't, was that the business was going in another direction, and that guy that looked like you was capable of being the next big thing.
Is this a plug for the Monday Night Wars Cruiserweight episode?
Oh, yeah, didn't that just come out?
By the way, I've been told Jericho has to go.
Oh, okay.
He has to get out.
He has to get out of here? Yeah. I have one question that I have to ask about the book, which is which I'm holding right here.
The best in the world at what I have no idea. Available at all fun bookstores near you.
The best story.
And all the stuff we talked about, whether it's in the book or not, is in the book. So if you like the show, go buy the book.
The best, my favorite page in the book, and I just want you to tell it now, or retell it because it's so funny, is the scene with you sitting in the office where Vince is trying to work the VCR. You had just had a match.
It's a long story, man. You got to read the chapter. But basically, Batista and I had done something that Vince was not happy with, and he had the videotape of it, and was going to make us watch this transgression.
The legendary transgression?
The legendary transgression.
You wrote about that in your past book.
And he went over to start the DVD player that they had put together, this highlight reel of this transgression, but he couldn't figure out how to start the DVD. He's like, we're gonna watch this DVD and we're gonna see exactly what you've done and you're gonna pay for it. Start. Doesn't work. And you're gonna be really in big trouble. John, and then Johnny, come here, and then Laurinaitis comes over there. He tries to start it, and it's like Laurinaitis and Vince. It's like your grandfather and your uncle that the clock on the VCR is still blinking because they never knew how to set the timer. So yeah, Vince laid the hammer down on Batista specifically after that, the famous $100,000 fine. Which, if you don't know about it, you need to read about it in the book.
It's great.
But yeah, he couldn't get the DVD player working until Mike Chioda, the referee, helped him do it.
Yeah, Mike Chioda's always there to help out.
Mike Chioda's really helpful.
Yeah, which is funny because he was in trouble too. So it was like a dude pulling the switch on his own electric chair.
Chris, it has been a pleasure.
It's been
Thank
great.
you. The book is out right now. I recommend, if you've never read a Jericho book, I recommend them all. They're awesome.
Trilogy.
Among his many talents, writing is certainly one of them. And yeah, we'll see you back on TV sometime.
At some point, man, I promise.